But what's up, guys? Saw that there was a new Hyper Talk, so let's watch the video, give a bunch of my takes on it. I did already watch it. I did already see what were the points that I think they did or did not mention. It's also somewhat interesting to see where they kind of get like a bad ratio on their likes and dislikes, and it just kind of shows that in the end, community currently isn't really happy. So let's see how they address that. Tomorrow, there will be another talk where they had Jason at Vulcan and Sean P in the talk talking about things apparently for 3 to 4 hours. So that's definitely something, giving them a little bit of run for their money of saying like what is good, what is bad. But they haven't been able to disclose what has been talked in that one yet, and that will be mentioned in the one tomorrow, and I will definitely be doing a review video on that one tomorrow as well. So let's look at what we have over here.
Hey there, I'm Marcus, joining you once again to explore the latest news from Etheria Restart with Chris.
Hey guys, it's me, Chris, again, here for the third episode of Hyper Talk. Can you believe it's already been a month since Etheria launched? Marcus, want to share some of the incredible milestones we've hit?
Absolutely. We've officially crossed 1.5 million downloads worldwide. Our Discord community has grown over 100,000 members who share strategies and stories daily. And the YouTube content...
Actually, for the Discord, it's pretty interesting to see. They went from like their last beta of like, I think like 30, 40k towards launch at like 100k. That went like crazy fast.
From both players and creators has been amazing. We want to thank you for the incredible support.
But honestly, these achievements are all because of you guys. Etheria shines because of your support. Speaking of appreciation, we've got some in-game goodies for you guys. Use the code Etheria30D for...
So yeah, just another code. Always grab those codes. You'll probably see them on a bunch of websites already as well.
Some in-game rewards.
Alright, let's jump into today's questions. First up, how often will Blessings
Well, let me move myself to the other side.
Galore events last? Will there be daily attempt limits?
So we launched one of these events about 2 weeks ago, and we loved seeing everyone's enthusiasm. Your feedback has been invaluable to us. Going forward, we'll announce these events 5 days in advance on our official platforms and in-game notifications. And the good news is that there's no attempt limit. So make sure to look out for these notifications and manage your stability wisely until then.
Next question.
Okay, so very first question they actually have, they right away don't answer the question. Like, I don't want to be rude or anything, but how often does the Blessing Galore event run? We are going to announce it 5 days in advance. That is not how often. That is saying, like, when are you going to announce it? That's 5 days in advance. So right away, the very first question, I think that's a kind of a bad show on like this whole hyperlink talk, where the very first question right away, like sure, the second part they did answer, but the how often part is not mentioned. Is it going to be weekly? Is it going to be monthly? Well, weekly probably not, but it's going to be monthly. Is it going to be yearly? Is it going to be at every kind of specific event? Also, once again, they did actually mention that this was an exclusive event. Exclusive means something is exclusive and most likely a one-time thing, which is also, once again, something that they stated at certain points, which they don't really withhold on right now. So therefore, a lot of the things that they say might change at any given moment. And yeah, 5 days in advance, I wouldn't say 5 days in advance is that much of a time for people to prepare. Might you ask me for, say, what would you say for saving stabilizers? Well, last time we saw around that most people were able to use about like 30 to 50-ish mental stabilizers. If you have more than like 30 to 50-ish and you want to use a bit here and there, that's probably fine. But save about like 30 to 50-ish, I would say.
Galore events last? Will there be daily attempt limits?
So we launched one of these events about 2 weeks.
There are description errors with the Revelation
Wisely until then.
Next question. Are there description errors with the Revelation Halloween shells? And is it normal that they let Freya deal explosive damage?
We did have some incorrect buff descriptions that have been fixed in recent updates, but as for Freya's design, this is in line with the game. You need to max her attack and crit, and then pair her with Revelation to pull it off. Sure, it looks pretty powerful, but there are matrices in the game that can work with counter strategy.
Well, let me talk about this. I've played a fair bit of tournaments on this so far. I would say the whole meta is just straight up based on Revelation, stacking multiple Revelation. And in this case, they only do mention Freya, but there's a whole bunch of units that actually do, well, insanely good with Revelation in the first place. Also, I think, let's actually see the damage that they are using from this clip.
But there are
Yeah, from the looks of it, wait, is he just not critting a whole bunch or something like that? I'm not sure, because this one should be doing a lot more damage on this. Because if you have a good Revelation, Freya or any unit on Revelation, you're pretty much killing 70% of the HP of all of the units on the enemy side with just one Revelation unit. That is absolutely an issue in RTA right now, 100%. Like, I will be doing a video on that probably tomorrow from the tournament and what, like, how big of an issue Revelation is. There's plenty of people that are just going for like, okay, we're going to speed check, booster checks on those, and then afterwards we just have 3 or 4 Revelation units and just get a go with there, and it just kills about everything. It does absolutely an insane amount of damage, but it's not going to get nerfed for another 77 days, which does also bring in the next issue. The longer you wait with nerfing someone, the more invested people are going to be in that exact something or someone, and therefore have both an insane amount of those. And then if you start hard nerfing that, you're killing pretty much everyone's account that they have been working towards for, like, in that case, 3 months. So yeah, I'm not really sure if them saying like, oh, we're just gonna address everything between seasons, which I'm going to say in a second, is that going to be the right take to actually progress this game, saying like, okay, you can work towards whatever, but we're only going to be nerfing towards seasons. But then if you nerf it towards the season, would that insanely brick your account? Because you have been focusing all resources on the thing that is the most OP, which in this case, Revelation is absolutely OP, I can tell you that much.
In the game that can work with counter strategy. We'd love.
Oh, there's also one strategy that counters it at the moment, and that is a Lighthouse Veronica. But then again, if you're a Revelation spammer yourself, what do? Pre-ban Veronica. GG. Like, there's not that many counters to it. Unless you have your whole team on Ambers and Lighthouses, then maybe you get away with it. But the big issue is, like, sure, if 1 or 2 units survive it, but the other 2 or 3 die, yeah, you still lose.
To see players work together to come up with these strategies.
Everyone's also curious about balance updates. Will you establish regular schedule updates for these? And since D-Ting is incredibly strong right now, is he going to get nerfed?
Well, that's also a funny thing. Like, they often mix up the PvE balancing and the PvP balancing. And I would say that the thing nerfing, that's just nerfing PvE. And they're saying like, oh, we only do it with the RTA seasons, but that is PvP. So they're kind of mix-matching things a little bit with PvE and PvP changes. Whereas we were asking is like, hey, please don't do any PvE nerfs. Because the only reason they actually made the official statement of them saying is like, hey, we're not going to do any PvP changes, is because we says like, dude, why did you nerf Shadow Sanya in Aurora? And why did you nerf Siada in Doki Doki? And they were like, oh, sorry, guys, we're not going to change anything in PvP anymore. It's like, you didn't change anything in PvP, you changed PvE.
Balance is crucial for our game, so we don't make these changes lightly. Previously, we've only fixed bugs so far that impact.
We only fixed bugs so far that impacted game progression, aka they fixed bugs for PvE, and the bug that he's referring to is Siada being able to steal the buffs from the Doki Doki mid-boss, or Aurora being able to be dotted. Were there bugs? Those were not bugs, those were just straight up nerfs. But okay.
To the game progression. Our plan is to handle balance in between RTA seasons, so as for D-Ting, I can guarantee he'll stay powerful the entire season. He's not getting nerfed.
The thing was never really a thing in PvP. Like, sure, people are using it in PvP because they use whatever they have built. That's the same thing why you see Lily everywhere. People put their lattices and those things, and then people are actually going to be using that. Same for the thing, but the thing is not a PvP unit regardless. It's like barely, like, sure, it can work in the early game, but it's definitely a PvE unit right there. But it's interesting to take the thing as the main example of like, oh, is it not going to get nerfed or buffed? And they're saying like, okay, it's going to be good for at least the whole season. It's like, yeah, but then again, it's just PvE. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
He's never been nerfed since launch and won't be touched throughout this whole season.
Another question. We're constantly swapping equipment during character development. In Etheria and United Front, does the game save whatever equipment you have on for these formations or not?
That's a great question. For Etheria, equipment updates in real time based on what you have on the character.
But why? Like, that is legit my question. Why does it work on one game mode but not on the other game mode?
Currently. You'll need to manage these resources carefully to make sure that your defensive teams are running defensive gear, and etc. Early on, you might find yourself constantly borrowing modules between characters and shifting around, but as you progress, this will get a little bit easier and you'll have a greater equipment collection.
But having a greater collection of equipment doesn't save or solve anything. If I want to have Bulwark on my defense, because Bulwark is a really good module set on defense in the first place, I want to use Bulwark on that. But if I want to use my Lily in PvE, Bulwark is pretty much the most useless thing I can give to my Lily. Having a greater collection of equipment does not change the fact that Bulwark is useless in PvE and absolutely god tier in PvP. Why can we not do the same thing as we can do with United Front? It's just weird.
United Front works a little bit differently though. It only saves the equipment from your last deployed formation. Any changes made afterward won't affect this formation. If you need to update your equipment during the layout period, make sure to re-enter your formation and confirm the layout before the phase ends.
The question about
But that's also a thing. If it works for one game mode, why would you not put that across the other game mode as well? If it locks in the formation, why can you not lock in the formation for your Ether Arena as well? It's the same thing, right?
unions. What happens when a union president goes inactive, but all the other members are still active?
Let me explain how union leadership works. After creating a union, the president can't be changed for the first week. After that, they can voluntarily transfer leadership to other members. If a president stays offline for more than 30 days,
I would say 30 days is maybe a little bit long on that, but sure. To be honest, I don't really think that this is that much of an issue for most of the guilds and the unions out there, but sure thing. I would still say 30 days is a little bit long. Like being offline for 30 days, that's pretty darn long. I would say 2 weeks would have been enough.
and there's a vice president that has been active within the last 24 hours, they can start an impeachment against the president. So leadership will then go to the most active VP with the highest contribution score.
About banner schedules. Holden and Hoyan's banner has been updated pretty quickly, but Yelly took 2 weeks. What's the plan going forward?
So in Etheria's early days, we didn't have as much animus for diverse strategies. So in this phase, we kept banners coming a little bit more frequently. Now that we've built up the roster, we're stabilizing at 1 new banner every 3 weeks.
So 1 new banner every 3 weeks, but Hoyan and Holden banner were 2 at the same time. Also, what we currently see in this video is 2 new units. Does that mean that these 2 banners are going to be released at the same time? Because that goes against what he's saying right now. We're stabilizing 1 new banner every 3 weeks. But then it's also, the banners aren't really fully overlapping because we currently don't have a normal elemental unit, but we only have the Yelly banner. Why do you not make just the Holden and the Hoyan banner longer while having the Yelly banner in there as well? Doesn't really make sense to me to not have any banner active if you can just extend the banner until the next one comes out, in my opinion.
Plus, each update brings more than just new banners, so expect new events and gameplay as well.
Since we're on the topic of banners, can you tease any upcoming animus?
I was hoping you'd ask. I came prepared today. But before we dive into the details, let's take a quick look at this beautiful animated showcase. Let's watch it together.
It's actually funny to me that this is a Chinese game made by Chinese makers, but they still went from the Japanese voice because most people do play it in Japanese voice acting.
もう深海グループはルパートの手中に落ちたわ。あなた、今の自分の境遇を分かってる？ええ、ご心配には及びません。私にも考えがあります。
奴を捕らえろ！決してあそこに近づけさせるな！
あなた方だけでですか？カマキリ墨を伺い、傍若後にあり。
It's kind of interesting where you see all kinds of people dying and then you see her kid later and she's full on the support. It's like, what the hell killed those things?
存分に策を練りなさいルパート。私の運命は私が決める。あなたにはその貪欲と傲慢の代償を払ってもらいます。やっとおいでになられたのですね、裁判官先生。
Wow, who's this elegant fighter? Even her combat style is so graceful and composed.
Meet Fuqiu, one of Doki and
Okay, so let's see what we can pick up from this already. So single target on the skill 1. Wait, I'm sitting in front of it at this moment, so let's put me over there. Single damage, and a shield. Okay. What's doing a little bit more because of like passives and stuff.
Executive Vice President. She's a tactical hub focused on turn meter manipulation. Let's check out her skill showcase together.
Wait, it does state this one on the bottom left. That's actually kind of funny. The final effect is subject to in-game. Isn't that normally like the final subject is subject to change? But I guess. Maybe it's a disclaimer because they messed up with others. So it is a hollow SSR. Stats-wise, looking at pretty high base HP. That's definitely a very substantial amount of base HP. Low base attack, pretty decent base defense. Base speed 119, definitely not one of the faster ones out there, but also not super slow. It's currently shown with a Fortissimo, which is currently not used that much as a shell, but might be a strong one for her.
Skill 1. Fuqiu deals damage to a single enemy and advances the action progress of 2 random allies. Damage to a...
Okay, let's see what we have. 2 random allies. I'm not the biggest fan of 2 random allies in the first place. You kind of want to be focusing on lowest unit or anything like that. We do go for a turn meter of 10% for just the skill 1. It's not that crazy, but that's something you could put towards Bramble or something like that. And then still get the turn meter... improved. You can also do that with a Lily, for example. The Bramble will work on giving the turn meter to the target that is on the twin trick. Same thing works with, for example, the Tsukio Mi. So in this case, Bramble might be an interesting one for that.
Single enemy and advances the action progress of 2 random allies. At the end of an enemy's turn, if Fuqiu does not have Serenity, advances her own turn meter. If Fuqiu has Serenity, delays her own turn meter. All allies trigger Serenity.
So they're talking about Serenity, but the thing that they actually do show in the thing over here is the Moonlit Veil. I'm not sure if the Moonlit Veil is the same thing.
At the end of their turn or when attacked, gaining turn meter increase and healing a portion of their max HP. If Fuqiu triggers Moonlit Veil, she will not gain action progress. Skill 2. Fuqiu...
Okay, 3 times multi-hit, which is equal to her max HP. So that's actually a pretty substantial amount of damage, most likely for just dealing damage based on your max HP.
Deals damage to a single enemy 3 times based on Fuqiu's max HP. Each hit has a chance to trigger Moonlit Veil for 1 other allied unit, always prioritizing the ally with the lowest current HP percentage. Ultimately,
okay.
Fuqiu grants...
So third skill, we have shields, we have speed buffs, okay.
all allies a shield for 2 turns, based on Fuqiu's max HP, then applies Serenity to herself for 2 turns, and increase speed to other allies for 2 turns.
Fuqiu's skills and fighting styles are so refined. In that animation we just watched, there was another new animus at the very end.
I would say seems like a decent unit, but since we are all on like a deficit of how many Latices we have to work with, probably not something that I would personally build anytime soon. I also don't really see any usage for her in PvE that much, because the healing one is going to be Aurora mainly, or the main stage where you want to be healing at is Aurora, which is the wrong element because that is the red element. So I don't really see that much potential for her in PvE just yet. PvP she definitely will be interesting, but more of a very late game niche unit. So I don't think too many people will start focusing on building her anytime soon.
Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Absolutely. So the other new animus you saw is Nahor, one of the 3 executive justices at EOS. He treats everyone with fairness, no favoritism, no prejudice, and ready to work together with everyone to fight. Let's check out his intro PV.
公正と無視高尚な言葉ですねそう評価されるとは光栄です 固定観念にとらわれずに私を
So once again, looking at the base stats, definitely a fair bit higher on attack. Defense is about the same as the other unit that we just saw. HP is a lot lower. So definitely more of an attacking type of unit. Also base speed 122, which is not slow, but also not super fast.
くれて感謝します。私たちは良い関係を築けそうですね。
Skill 1.
Okay, so skill 1 is a death break. Goes up towards a 2-turn death break. It is a 40 chance, so the 40 chance by max accuracy goes up to an 80. That is not a full activation rate. So anything that's 40 is, I would say, twice as bad as anything that would be a 50 chance, because you cannot max activation rate it by adding in a lot of accuracy. So it's not bad for a skill 1, but it's definitely also not that great.
Nahor inflicts damage on a single enemy with a chance to apply lower defense for 2 turns. Skill 2.
Okay, skill 2 is a 70 chance, so 70 chance definitely would go up all the way towards the 100. Also, looking at the investment for Lattices, we have the Dispelling effect. It starts off with a X amount at start, and then it changes into removing all, which is definitely strong. It's also 3-turn cooldown, so it starts off with a 4. And I guess it probably starts off with like a 50 or a 60 on the raid itself, which is being maximizable by adding in enough accuracy. So therefore, the skill ups on him are not as interesting in the S2 and also the S1. So
Nahor
let's see
deals
what...
damage
So depending on what the S3 does, it might be one of those units that's lower invested, already good.
to a single enemy with a chance to dispel all buffs and apply block for 2 turns. Ultimate skill. Nahor deals
Okay, wait, that one went pretty quick.
all buffs and apply block for 2 turns. Ultimate skill.
Okay, so we do have a 70 for the defense down. We have a 50 for the freeze, exactly as I mentioned. If the freeze is a 50, then you can make that 100. That's, for example, the big issue that a Mio has on the skill 2. Her freeze is 40 on the skill 2, so therefore you're not going to see freezes all the time. And definitely a solid one for the defense break as well. So I like those numbers for the skill 3. Would definitely be probably a skill that you would have to max skill if you do want to go invested in him. It would also be the big question, is he going to have the speed up in his skill 3 or the speed up in the skill 1 for the skill ups itself? If he has the speed in the skill 3, he might be a very easy to invest where you just have to go a bunch of Lattices in the skill 3 and he's good to go. And he might actually be a replacement for Kloss for a lot of defense breaking kind of styles, because the freeze, most bosses in PvE do have ads on the side. So let's say Shadow Flame Hoyan, let's say even Rengokutsu. There's a lot of ads on the sides next to those things, and I think that Nahor might be really good.
Nahor deals AoE damage to all enemies with a chance to apply lower defense for 2 turns and freeze for 1 turn. Nahor's second skill completely strips an enemy's buffs while preventing them from receiving new ones.
To be honest, I think the skill 2 is really nice. Like, strip into buff block is absolutely really nice. It's also funny to see that all of the male characters seem to be the Dispel characters, because we got Viper, strips, Heinrich, strips, Holden, strips. In this case, we have Nahor, also strips. And for female characters that provide like a buff steal, I guess Yada. But any buff strip, well, maybe we can say for Veronica. But it's more that the female characters are all working towards steals, whereas the male characters are working towards like the dispels and the strips.
The block effect. This significantly reduces team pressure in challenging content, whether facing powerful bosses in PvE or during extended PvP matches. Nahor can become a decisive tactical advantage for your team.
Yeah, getting the freeze in on like Shadow Flame, Hoyan, and those kind of things, I definitely could see value for him for PvE. So looking at the 2 different units, I think Nahor will be the unit that people should be pulling for, especially if you don't have a Kloss. If you already have a Kloss and you invested some in Kloss, you probably don't need Nahor that much. But if you don't have that, it would be really nice. Also for Doki Doki, whereas right now you have to use 1 unit to actually remove all of the buffs where you have to CC first. And then you have the defense break. So you have 2 units in slot needed, where you go for like the Kazuya, you go for a Kloss or anything like that. But in this case, Nahor can kind of do that alone, which is really nice, which enables you to put an extra healer in there, make you run safer, or maybe a second CC unit. So I definitely do think that he's super goated in Doki Doki. I would say that he's probably pretty good in most of the shell dungeons as well. Except for, well, I think he's actually good in all of them except Sharon. So he's good, great for Doki, great for Nico Nana, great for Shadow Flame Hoyan, probably great for Rengoku too. So I would say Nahor has probably high value to be pulled.
Nemesis will join the game on July 10th. Also, remember at the end of the last Hyper Talk when we teased some new gameplay? Chris, do you have any more updates on this?
Yes, I do. So since Etheria's official launch, we've added tons of new content as seen through Guild vs Guild with United Front, boss challenges such as Cage Rumble, and various event modes. Today, I'm excited to introduce a brand new PvE mode called Dreamscape. In this game mode, hyperlinkers can use dream keys to challenge mazes scattered throughout the Dreamscape. These mazes contain portals leading to different areas which each will have unique gameplay waiting to be discovered. You'll need to explore carefully and make strategic decisions as you go. In the mazes, you'll also encounter a massive boss known as the Dreamweaver. It has 3 different elemental forms, and you can switch between.
For this boss, like the Lindel boss, for the people that haven't cleared it in the Ethernet rally, build a Vice, and Vice just constantly keep taunting the main boss. Boss is not gonna do anything against you. So if you're struggling with this boss that comes in the content later, just build a Vice, just keep taunting, and it's super easy.
Them daily for a different type of challenge. The more damage you deal, the better your rewards.
Finally, Chris, any updates on the official Etheria Esports events?
Absolutely. Starting late July, we're launching the first ever exclusive EWS tournament. We'll have amazing rewards, exciting guests, legendary players, and the top 8 competitors all participating together. On top of that, players can earn exclusive tournament cosmetics like avatar frames, nameplates, card borders, and more. Don't miss out.
So EWS has way more than just competitions. There's so much more content. Everyone make sure not to miss out. Well, that wraps up this episode of Hyper Talk. Don't forget to use code Etheria30D.
Okay, so there's probably a second part coming tomorrow where they had like the bunch of content creators in the likes of Volking, Genezat, and Jean-B talking to Jack, which is the main developer, at least the main community talking developer. So definitely curious to see what they will talk in that one. For this one, I would say that they addressed a few points with the questions, but right away on the very first question is like, how often are you gonna do it? And they just completely divert the answer towards like, okay, we're gonna let you know 5 days in advance. Yeah, that's not saying how often you're gonna do something. That's saying like, what is your pre-planning of like letting us know? So not too sure if I'm too happy about that answer. Also a bunch of questions such as like, okay, Etheria coin, everyone is running insanely low on those. Things that you can go insanely dry on trying to pull like the right shell passive with like the training data and those kind of things are all not mentioned. But I do hope that those are more mentioned in the HyperLink talk tomorrow. And I hope that they give good answers to those as well, because in the end, we still don't really know too much from this whole video. I would say from this video, Nahor is definitely a nice addition because a lot of people were saying it's like, ooh, I don't have Kloss, I don't have Kloss. I think that he is the best one-to-one replacement for Kloss. So if you have an issue where you say it's like, ooh, I don't have a Kloss, he's probably your guy. So that's all for me for this video. If you would like to see more content like this, let me know in the comment section. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.